Something I've really wanted to make a video on for a very long time is the alternate script for The Rise of Skywalker, so that is exactly what I'm going to be doing today, so here we go. The alternate script we're going to be talking about is called Duel of the Fates, named after the fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon and Darth Maul that was called Duel of the Fates because it decided the fate of Anakin Skywalker. Qui-Gon dying made him, become Vader. Not made him, but if he didn't die, he wouldn't have. But anyway, first things first, Coruscant was meant to be a massive part of this movie, which I absolutely love. I think it's kind of weird that we don't see Coruscant at all after the prequels, considering how important it actually was, but yes, the First Order have control of the planet, and a battle is actually set to happen later on in the movie. A huge capital ship is hovering above the planet. One of the things this script does really well is incorporate what we know from The Last Jedi into itself, one of these being that Hux is still second in command to Kylo Ren. So one of the images we get to see is what looks to be a Resistance pilot getting decapitated by a guillotine with a laser rather than a actual blade. It's looking like Captain Phasma or someone who got promoted to her rank after she died in The Last Jedi. I'm assuming they wouldn't just bring her back. Is stood next to said guillotine in front of a huge crowd. It's quite clear that this is probably Coruscant. Now, going into the actual story, at the start of the movie it was supposed to be the Resistance stealing a Star Destroyer, and Finn, Poe and Rose get captured, but then are rescued by Rey, who happens to have an awesome new blue double-bladed lightsaber that she obviously had to make following the break of the Skywalker saber in The Last Jedi. Another thing that it does well, linking the two movies, like I already said. She comes in a Tusken Raider disguise, and obviously when she takes that off, she looks very similar to Luke in Return of the Jedi. And speaking of her lightsaber, it looks like a combination of the Skywalker saga and her own staff that we see in The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, again linking the movies together really nicely. As this script wasn't anywhere near being completed and put into production, we don't have too much, but what we have here is another image of Rey, and this time it's her meditating with Luke as a Force ghost watching from the side. It is also said that Rey and Luke have a little bit of a disagreement about the light and the dark side and the Jedi and stuff like that. Now on to Kylo Ren. He is in Vader's castle on Mustafar and is apparently haunted by the ghost of Luke Skywalker. He finds a Sith holocron with a message from Palpatine, who is dead by the way, and this holocron explodes in his face because it was meant for Vader. I also want to say that Kylo repairs his mask with some Mandalorian metal, which we can only assume is actually Beskar, which is pretty cool. Again, similar to The Rise of Skywalker, where he does actually make a new mask. Now, we get an image of C-3PO and R2 on the lower levels of Coruscant, where they head to the old Jedi Temple with Finn and Rose too, to set a beacon out to the galaxy to rally the people, and it seems like they succeed in doing so. It brings in characters such as the Broom Kid from the end of The Last Jedi, and even Bosk. This beacon brings these people in. While this is happening, Kylo travels to a planet called Remicor, as Palpatine's message before it blew up in his face said something about a Tor Valum, an old Sith teacher who apparently instructed Palp, which we could potentially assume Plagueis too. Kylo is taught how to drain the life force out of someone, and he enters a Sith cave like Luke on Dagobah, and he fights a Vader and actually loses the fight. Now this is one of my favourite parts of the script. That would be so cool to see. Cool to see, as Kylo does look up to Vader. Next we have Rey, Poe, Chewie and BB-8 go to a planet called Bonadan, where Poe used to live with his grandfather, so I guess this is in place of Kijimi, which is the backstory planet we got with Poe. we see them have like a ship chase with the Knights of Ren, and apparently Rey kills all of the Knights of Ren. We also see an image of Finn rallying up the people of the underlevels of Coruscant to rise up against the First Order, and there is a lot of ex-stormtroopers in this like rise against the First Order. Now, that stolen Star Destroyer that I mentioned earlier obviously carried a lot of vehicles, such as like updated models of AT-STs, and it seems like the people that rallied up against the First Order are working on them, whether that be painting or just like fixing them up. Now, the Battle of Coruscant on the ground actually causes a lot of stormtroopers to turn against the First Order mid-fight, and there is also a space battle where literally like the same amount of people that actually turned up for the Rise of Skywalker battle on Exegol turn up on Coruscant, or above Coruscant. And because the Resistance actually win this fight, Hux ends up killing himself with a lightsaber. He has a whole side story in this film where he collects Force artifacts. He really wants to be Force sensitive and obviously isn't, and it was leaked that this lightsaber he kills himself with was meant to be purple, hinting at it being Mace Windu's. Now, the next image we get to see is Leia handing something to BB-8. I'm not sure what it is, but it looks very similar to her handing the Death Star plans to R2-D2. Now, on Mortis, yes, Mortis from the Clone Wars, we see Rey fight some huge beast before she has her fight with Kylo. And when she does fight Kylo, we see his new mask look very, very Revan-like, and he slashes Rey in the eyes, blinding her, ending up in a confrontation between Force Ghost Luke and Kylo, where Luke actually grabs Kylo's blade. Rey then recovers and they fight again. She gets the better of him, and Kylo uses the life essence drain that he learned earlier on and ends up beating her there. He turns back to the light and then gives her back her life essence, which ends up killing Kylo. We then get an image of a very broken and beaten R2-D2 who is supposed to be dead here, and 3PO is mourning his death. However, R2 is set to be fixed up and recovered, and it leads to further confirmation that Star Wars is a story told by R2, as it ends with a bunch of people crowded around R2 saying what a good story that was. So now I'm going to talk about how similar this is to The Rise of Skywalker, because although it is a vastly different script, there are some similarities, so here we go. Number 1, Force Ghosts can physically interact with the world. We obviously saw that in The Rise of Skywalker there. We get Rey training with a fixed lightsaber from obviously the one that broke in The Last Jedi. We get to see her meditating whilst floating in the air, which happened at the start of The Rise of Skywalker. We get a ex-Stormtrooper story. As you can see here, there was ex-Stormtroopers in The Rise of Skywalker, and we obviously get Kylo turning back to the light and saving Rey's life. Personally, I very, very much enjoy this Duel of the Fates script. I honestly think that if this was done as well as it could be, it could genuinely be my favourite Star Wars movie. Are you seriously telling me that this was close to happening? Mortis, Kylo invaders castle, everything that I just spoke about. It sounds crazy. However, we obviously did not get this, and we're probably not going to get this ever, so we're going to have to live with The Rise of Skywalker that we got, which I still actually enjoy as much as it is lower down on my Star Wars films list. I do still enjoy the movie. I've said it before, it's one of the easiest to watch. But yeah, that is the Duel of the Fates script, alternate script for The Rise of Skywalker. Let me know what you thought of it. Am I the only one that just enjoys it this much? Am I the only one that thinks it's this good? But yeah, with that being said, thank you for watching. Thank you for 2,700 subs now. Like I said, the next real big milestone is 5k, so that would be crazy if we could get there pretty soon. And yeah, leave a like, and in a bit.